must not go back to Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry.
That help will always be given at Hogwarts to those who ask for it. It is not our abilities that show what we truly are. It is our choices.
Hey everyone, welcome to Hogwarts, a podcast. I'm your host Dan, and we are covering Chapter 7 of Chamber of Secrets.
Mudbloods and Murmurs.
As you can hear, Elizabeth is here to cover this chapter. We apologize for all of the foul language that's going to be spoken.
There's a lot of bad words in this chapter.
Bad, dirty words.
Cover your ears if you're under, 18?
Obviously, this chapter is kind of surrounding a dirty word in the wizarding world, so we'll kind of delve into that a little bit a little later. So, the chapter starts off with Harry being very rudely awakened early in the morning, which would, even though I have spent my entire life in sports. My profession that I do, my day-to-day job, is revolving around sports. I've played sports all my life, so I understand Wood's enthusiasm here. I do. I really do.
However,
don't wake me up that early in the morning. Not about it. Not about that life.
I think it's funny that Colin is also awake this early.
He's just stalking Harry at this point.
Yeah, he really
is.
He's
a full-on stalker.
He really, really is.
I do appreciate Colin's love of photography. And I appreciate his love and willingness to go out there and get the candid sports photography shots. Much respect to him.
You can imagine, if Hogwarts had a yearbook, he would be a yearbook photographer.
For sure, and I'm not sure why they wouldn't.
Yeah, they should have one.
I do like him for being so young, delving into his profession so well, because it's he's already dabbled in, you know how Hermione's top of her class?
Right.
And she's so good at so many different things. He's already seemingly perfected the potion to develop these photographs.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, he's only a first year, and it's not that, long into the school year yet.
No.
So
it seems
this is the very first potion he tried to master.
Clearly.
Which, to be fair, I would totally do too if I was, Muggle raised, and then suddenly there's magic everywhere. Take pictures of everything, and we would totally.
Well, this is one of the coolest things. I get Harry's; it's not on the top of his head, but if I'm Colin and I'm interested in photography anyway,
there's flying broomsticks and.
Oh yeah, but if I can make my photography move and tell a story, that'd be really awesome. It'd be very, very cool. And it's weird because it's because the pictures of Lockhart trying to drag Harry into a picture with him.
Right.
So it's even though you took a picture of an actual event, it's the characters in the picture are almost...
Yeah, they don't cooperate the way you want them to.
No, not necessarily. They're independent, which is also really cool, I think.
Which I do find Harry's reaction to all this really funny, because this is the first real person who's fawning over him 24/7. He goes with it. He puts up with it.
Yeah. So after the long Oliver Wood speech that
and recap about what Quidditch actually is
that no one's paying attention to, which
Fred and George fell asleep. I love it.
Well, I think Johnson and Spinnet were already asleep at the beginning of this whole thing.
Yeah, no one's paying attention.
No one's paying attention.
It's just Oliver talking to himself for the sake of making up for last year.
There's a time and a place, though. You got to know your team. Part of being the team captain is knowing who your team is. And being
But he's a fanatic, Dan.
I understand.
He's been thinking about this moment all summer long. He's I can't wait to talk to the team.
I get it.
And they are just not awake enough for it.
I understand. Well, again, know your team, know who you're dealing with. But yeah, so after they actually get onto the Quidditch pitch.
I like how Ron is aren't you guys done yet? It's we haven't even started yet.
But they
just
always
already
bring,
eating
they like
breakfast.
brought food from the Great Hall out for themselves, not obviously for the team.
Yeah, to watch the show.
Which is another, again, Wood, you gotta up your game and have like a little breakfast or something for the team. We're ready to go. Come on now. Sports nutrition is important too, Mr. Wood. But anyway, they get out there, and then not too long into their practice, I think just after the warm-ups, because they were just racing around getting like warmed up.
Waking up.
Yeah.
Waking up more than warming up.
The Slytherin team comes out there, and we learn that they have a new Seeker.
Yeah. Malfoy's on the team.
Malfoy's on the team.
Something he has dreamed about and been jealous of Harry about for over a year now.
I believe it's all upperclassmen students on the Slytherin team, right?
Yeah, they said he was the shortest. Very,
like
very
I think
tiny.
Flint is like a 5th or 6th year.
Something
It says
like that.
something like
They
that.
said he was like a troll, like in size.
Yeah, just a bigger, thicker kid. But they were
Yeah.
all larger
Except
students. Which makes sense. But
I just think it's like, okay, so they come onto the field and they're like, yeah, we get to use the Quidditch pitch. But it's like Oliver booked the field and Snape overrules him with that, which I don't understand. Because, I mean, like, you, with having your job with the gym and stuff, right? Like, you have to book the gym in order to have your practices.
Yeah.
You couldn't just, like, come in and overrule somebody else's booking, could you?
I wouldn't say it's overruled per se. I would say it's just literally permission to also practice. Because I think Flint says, like, right off the bat, it's like, there's plenty of room for both of us.
Which is ridiculous.
So
They would have, like, a full-blown fight after
I'm sure.
that practice.
But you think, now, practically speaking, like if we were in a main gymnasium,
right, it's big enough for
you
more
can
people.
put a curtain down. You can't put a curtain down on a Quidditch pitch. But there are
Right.
2 goalposts. There are 2 sides to the field.
Right.
Theoretically, you'd split it down to half, and each team gets a side. I'm sure if it were Gryffindor and Ravenclaw, or Gryffindor and Hufflepuff, whatever, I'm sure no one would care.
Do you think there's only one set of balls to practice with?
No, they probably have supplies.
Okay.
I think they have extra brooms and stuff like that,
So I was
too.
gonna say they wouldn't be able to share it if they're practicing both at a time.
I would imagine they'd have extra supplies. But not that it would matter to the Slytherins, because they would just buy their own supplies anyway, like they just bought their new set of brooms.
They
Lucius
really
for the
just
present.
here to intimidate the Gryffindors and just be like, look at our fancy brooms that you can never afford.
Yeah.
Thank you, Lucius Malfoy.
Shots fired at the clean sweeps. Here's my thing about brooms, and since we're on the topic. So, brooms. How do those upgrades work exactly? So, clean sweeps, the Nimbus 2000, and now the Nimbus 2001,
Yeah.
right? What about them is improved? Because a broom design can only go so far. It's a broom, right? You can't make it more aerodynamic. It's a broom.
I mean, I kind of think of it with like iPhones, how like each iPhone just is a little bit better and just a little
But how?
tiny upgrade.
Is just the magic get better?
Maybe it's like they more finely shape the broom to be more aerodynamic, or like maybe it's more handcrafted as opposed to just like, I don't know, magically done.
And
or
I could see that between like...
every single twig of the broom comes from a very specific like...
Sure. And I'll take that between like the Nimbus series and the clean sweeps. I'll buy you on that. Design could matter.
Mm-hmm.
Quality of the wood could matter, I suppose. It's more inherent magical properties. Whatever curveball you want to throw at
Maybe
it.
like the amount of spells put on it to protect it from things.
Okay, so spells and magic has to be the inherent difference, right?
I would assume so.
So are the wizards at the Nimbus company better than the ones at Clean Sweep?
They're like, we care more about
Like-
safety,
like-
or is the clean sweep still just like knock you off?
We've talked about lesser known wizarding professions before, like wizarding lawyers and stuff like that.
The broom designers.
Wizard engineers.
I mean,
that are, like, working
remember,
on
like,
this.
in the first year, they were talking about flying lessons, and Harry said how, it was either Harry or Ron, said the twins were always complaining about the school brooms, like, vibrating too much when they got too high, or, like, flying slightly left of where you want to go. Like, maybe it's like a shopping cart. You know how, like, you always get that one shopping cart with the bad wheel, or, like, the squeaky sound or something?
So again,
Maybe it deteriorates after a certain amount of time.
I could see that. I could see the magic
The spell
weakening
goes
on it
off,
over
yeah.
time. I could see that. So I don't know. It's just a thought that occurred to me. Is like, they're all hyping
You want a
these-
quality broom.
Well, no, it's like they're all hyping these Nimbus 2001s, and they're like, oh, they outstriped the Nimbus 2000s. I'm like, how? Why? What's the actual like reasoning behind that? I don't know, because they make a big deal out of it, and I'm just thinking like, you can only make a broom so many different
I wonder
ways.
if there's like the same way you can go get an oil change in your car and stuff. Like, could you go get an upgrade on your old broom and tinker with it?
I would. I'm sure you can, and I would respond to that.
Like
with,
redo the spell, make it stronger or something.
I'd respond to that with a spoiler. So I'm gonna not say that.
We'll
but,
save it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway,
They invade the field.
they invade the field. Long story short, there's a kerfuffle. I'll say kerfuffle.
That's one way to put it.
Yeah. And obviously, Wood and Flint go back and forth and whatever. And then everyone that's there, Colin and Ron and Hermione come down, wonder what's going on.
And Hermione has the zinger, which is so, like, it just hits the truth right on the head, which is, I think, why Malfoy reacts so poorly to it. She says, at least no one on the Gryffindor team had to buy their way in. They got in on pure talent. And his response to that, Dan, what did he say?
You filthy little mudblood.
Oh, that was the M word.
Yep, he used the M word. There's a lot there. I love Hermione's sharpness with it.
Yeah, she knows it's something. She just doesn't know what.
Yeah.
It's just the tone of how he says it and the way everyone else reacts. I mean, that is very clear.
It goes from a kerfuffle to a full-blown fight at this point.
Yeah.
And amongst the fight, Ron, with his broken wand from the Whomping Willow, decides that it's a great idea to try to curse Malfoy, and it goes horribly wrong in what is probably one of the more disgusting curses I can possibly think of.
Which I want to talk about this curse a little bit more, okay? Like the logic of it. So we know there's the slugs coming out of his mouth. He's literally vomiting up these creatures. But where do they come from? Like, are they in his stomach and just crawling their way up? Or are they showing up just in his mouth and then coming out? And then, like, do they just keep regenerating? And how long do they regenerate? And if it had been with a non-broken wand, how long would it have lasted? Could you set, like, time limits on it?
So I'm thinking it comes from the gut because
All
Ron
the way up.
explains, because Ron explains that nauseous feeling, and it's almost like you're throwing up slugs.
Can you just imagine, like, the feeling of slugs in your stomach?
That's the nauseousness that he feels. That's that queasy
Is that,
feeling.
like, crawling around in there? Oh, God.
So I think they appear there, but my question is, this seems awfully effective in debilitating a person.
Yeah. Let's go back to the M word for a second, though.
Yeah.
The whole mudblood thing, right?
Yeah,
When
so they end up going to Hagrid's hut to figure out the slug thing, because they figure if anyone's going to know how to deal with this, it's Hagrid, which is a good thing.
And he's closest, too.
Yes, he's also out on the grounds.
Which we had to hide from Lockhart, which is hilarious. Lockhart's just trying to sell Hagrid some of his books, and he's amazed that he doesn't have them already.
Well,
/ give him the knowledge that he already has.
Well, he has to teach. He taught Sprout how to deal with a Whomping Willow. Now he has to teach Hagrid how to deal with a magical creature. So a Kelpie, by the way, is technically a water demon, and it shapeshifts. But it most commonly takes the form of a horse, is what I'm reading here, which is interesting to find at the bottom as well. But
you have to hate that one coworker who knows how to do everyone else's job. And
does he
yet
know?
Doesn't
Does he
know
know?
a single thing, and I mean, you can't call them out on it because it's just like it's awkward. But at the same time, you're just like, I want to punch you in the face because you have no idea what you're talking about, sir. It's very effective to get rid of him.
So they eventually make it past Lockhart into Hagrid's hut, and Hagrid inquires as to why slugs are pouring out of Ron, and
Which is a valid question.
and then they get to the topic, which is that horrible little M word.
Yes. So
And,
according to the Wizarding World, Mudblood is the very, very, very rude comment That essentially means you are not a pure wizard, right? You have the muddiness of muggles intertwined with your pure wizarding blood, and therefore you are not as great as everyone else, to put it kindly.
Yeah, it's an interesting word because I feel like those that use it as a very pointed slur that is intending to put down that individual, whereas some others almost take it as a badge of pride.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, like I am a mudblood and...
Yeah, so Ron ends up going into this long monologue almost that's broken up only by slugs.
Vomiting slugs.
Yes. Squelchily dropping them into the pan or the bucket.
I imagine the squelches come from the slugs. They're just like,
Oh, yeah. Oh, well, I don't know about that. I don't know about that. But anyway, yeah, so he goes on to this long explanation of what the word is, why they're saying that, and then he goes into the wizard genealogy of, like, if we hadn't started marrying muggles, we'd all have died out.
Right.
Like, it makes zero sense. So they're like, yes, we're mudbloods. That's the only way we can really go about this. Because if you're pure blood, it's like, where are you going? There's only so many left now.
Right, you'd have to start intermarrying. I don't know, when you read this, you're supposed to think of other racial slurs that are used in the real world. And when I read this, I definitely did think a little bit about my own students because I teach in a very rural, very, very rural district, which is predominantly white. And the area does have racism in it. There are definitely kids who use the N-word. Most know not to use it in class and in school, and they recognize, like, oh, this is not a good word, and I will get frowned upon by society if I use it. But then there are the other ones who are just flat out, white supremacist kind of mentality. And I was thinking about it a bit as I was reading this, and it's like a lot of those kids, they live in a bubble where they have never really had to be met with someone who doesn't, like, who very strongly feels the feelings of, like, using the N-word and stuff. And it's not until they go out into the real world and they get, like, met with people who push back and show, like, this is not okay to use this word, that then they start to change their behavior. And a lot of times their behavior is, based on what they learned from their parents and stuff. And Malfoy is definitely that. He has learned the word mudblood from his father. He's never had to interact with people who question if that's even the right term to use or not, or if it's even a thing or not. And being at school with that mentality, like, the first conflict of what he's been taught his entire life is Hermione. She is the strongest in the class. She's the smartest in the class. And according to what he's been raised with, she shouldn't be. She should be, like, way lower than him. So when she flat out calls him out with this, of it's not your talent that got you on the team, it's your money, like, he obviously takes great offense to that. And it's the recognition of, maybe it's not... maybe it isn't my talent. Maybe it is just the money. And maybe everything that I have been raised with is a lie. But that's too much for me to be conflicted with right now or confronted with. So I'm just going to throw out the meanest insult I possibly know, which is calling her mudblood.
So I do like your point of environment tells you a lot about where that character is coming from. You said you work in a very small, rural community.
Yes.
I work in...
The exact opposite.
I work in an urban center where there's diversity and a lot of mix of cultures.
Yeah, we don't have that at my school,
so,
fortunately.
But that doesn't mean that I don't hear slurs. I don't hear different kinds of verbiage used to try to diminish someone else.
Right.
Whether that's...
And sometimes it's just like, it's a power move of, look at how cool and bold I am to be using this word that I know is going to get a reaction from people.
that, and honestly, it's just used colloquially in that it's just thrown out there without even them intending
Right.
there to be any like venom behind it.
Right.
It's just thrown out there as like, you're this.
Right.
Not necessarily intending to put someone down, even though it is.
Right.
They just don't even
They don't think about
associate
it
it
like
because
that.
it's so common knowledge.
Or so
such
commonly
common wording.
used.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Which is still a different context. I mean, like you
It's a
have
different
lot of
context.
black students. I have predominantly white students.
Yeah.
And the way they use them are very, very different.
I work in a community that's very white is actually the minority
Yeah.
at my high school
Yeah.
that I work at. So we have black, Hispanic students primarily. We have some Arabic students, straight, gay. We have a whole mix. So you hear a lot of different things
Right.
thrown around.
Right.
But this comment by him was obviously very targeted in a demeaning fashion.
Mm-hmm.
But he comes from, like you said, a more sheltered, closed-off environment.
Right. Because, I mean, he has had money. He's a single child who's never had to, like, fight for attention. He's already had the
Comes from a very pure blood family.
very pure blood and the knowledge that, like, you know, my father has worked for the most powerful, like, villain in the world before. And you could argue.
Not under his own willpower, though.
Well, yeah.
He was coerced.
He was coerced into it, so we think. But yeah, he's got the, like, you know, big man syndrome a little bit of I'm so much, my ego has been inflated all my life, and now here when I'm confronted with this girl, first of all, okay, feminism, here's a girl shooting down a guy who is muggle born and intelligent, and yeah, I mean, she's not athletic, but she can call it the way that it is. I mean, that is probably the most sharp comment Hermione could have made, and that's why he confronted it back with the worst thing he could think of calling her a mudblood.
We're running a little long on the non-spoiler section, but I would have to I have to say this, given the conversation that we're on. J.K. Rowling herself has
Right.
been at the front of a lot of blowback because of some
Big
of her Twitter
controversy.
statements
Yeah.
about the trans community and the LGBTQ community.
Right.
We have not addressed it specifically as a podcast, at least on these recordings. We made a tweet for the last time J.K. said something about...
It makes you cringe every time.
It does. It kind of hurts your soul as a Potter fan just because Harry Potter's supposed to be about love and acceptance and accepting those that are different or
Right.
not the majority.
Right.
So it's a little weird to see those comments coming from the creator of some of this.
Right. I mean, that's the lesson that we're getting from this. Of even if you're different, you're loved. And her tweets kind of are alienating people. Not kind of, they are. Like,
and we'll probably address those as a group. I'd like to get all four of us to kind of, me, you, Molly, and Anna, at least together to
discuss
kind of
it.
have a bigger conversation about that.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll kind of table it for right now, but
Shall we
obviously we as a podcast do not support any of those comments.
We
made
love
by
everybody, you
J.K. Rowling.
guys.
So, yeah,
Should we leave the rest for the spoilers?
I think so. I think we should end it there and head to the spoilers.
All right.
So, all right, we'll be right back.
Amazing! This is just like magic!
All right, so we are back from break after that intense conversation that we had in the non-spoilers. If you have thoughts on those, just let us know on our Twitter @HogwartsPod. Obviously, it's a touchy subject, so please be kind in those comments to us and to everyone. So, but yeah, we'll kick things off with a little less serious topic. You wanted to talk about some detentions.
Yeah, they got detentions for obviously destroying the Whomping Willow and arriving to school late, not on the train. And both of them think they have the worst end of the deal. We have Harry having to answer fan mail with Lockhart, which, to be fair, does sound awful because he talks the entire time and just like about himself. And it's just like listening to Lockhart fawn over himself for 4 hours. It's not fun. And then, of course, Ron has to go clean trophies using Muggle magic, which he never, ever, ever does. So, of course, he thinks he has the worst end of the job. And, Ron had a slug attack again over Tom Riddle's special award for services to the school, which the fact that the slug attack happens hours later does make me wonder, why so late? Why is there still that lasting slug attack hours later?
They were little slugs. Huh?
I guess little slugs, yeah. Maybe they're just growing in his stomach. But Tom Riddle's special award, this is a huge Easter egg here. So, there's that, and it's everything they're about to deal with, that they just don't know it yet.
No, yeah, it's definitely, it's not really foreshadowing, because they don't even say it's Riddle's special service.
No, it's just an Easter egg for us to, when we reread it, to be like, oh yeah, look, there it is. So I think that's funny.
So, you never answered the question yourself.
What?
Which one's the worst one? Detention.
You
can't pose it out there, throw it out there, and then not answer it yourself.
I think I'd have a harder time dealing with Lockhart, because if he's just talking and talking and talking, it's hard to tune him out. Whereas Filch is also going to be talking, but he's just going to be making comments that are like, I could hang you from the ceiling with my chains that are well oiled, and you'll never try to do bad things again, or whatever. And I don't know, it's at least you're moving around and you're looking at the trophies and whatever.
I agree. I think Lockhart would be the worst one for me, because it's 4 hours of doing the same thing over and over and
While
over
listening
and over.
to him talk about it over and over. Which also, from teacher perspective, this is a Saturday detention for 4 hours, and it goes until midnight. That's as much of a detention for the teachers as they are for the students.
Well, for Lockhart, it's answering fan mail.
So for him, it's fun. But It's are they getting paid for this? This is overtime work, you guys.
You're there anyway? I don't know.
I would rather be asleep or watching a movie or something, not dealing with a kid. Though, I don't know. Also, a little tiny question, which is just because it's me. So, if they have a curfew, right? They're supposed to be in bed at a certain time, not wandering the castle. So, if detention goes until midnight, they get out of detention. Technically, they're out of bounds.
Yeah, I think you're supposed to at least get a pass from the professor.
Probably.
Of hey, he was with me in detention for this.
I could just imagine,
not that Filch is going to write you a pass.
No, I could just imagine them, them going back up to the common room and, Snape seeing them and be like, detention, you're out of bounds. That's not fair.
Yeah, I assume you're supposed to get the pass from the teacher that you're with, but, yeah. There's a couple of things that happen in this chapter. The big one comes at the end, the cliffhanger. But before we get to the big cliffhanger, I wanted to kind of bring it back to the conversation in Hagrid's hut. And not the deep, intense part of it, but you'll appreciate this. This is going to be a book versus movie thing.
Ooh, okay.
So, in the book that we just read, Ron is the one that goes on this long monologue of what the word is, what it means, why it's bad, and the historical context of it.
Right.
He's the one that spills out all this information, which is essentially what he does throughout the book so far. He gives a lot of magical background to both Harry and Hermione, who are relatively clueless on either.
Yeah, because they've never experienced it.
Right.
It's all a first for them.
Right. So, but in the movie, in that scene in Hagrid's hut, Hermione is the one that's like, oh, it's a really bad word and whatever. And she gives the context to it. Yes.
Thoughts.
Well, yeah. Now, here's my thought on it. Because this is what I was thinking. I was like, oh, Ron's giving this whole background. And in the movie, it's Hermione. And we've already had conversations about how they've treated Ron in the movies. And how they've done his character pretty bad.
Yeah.
Here's my thought. This
is going to be something that, Anna disagrees with you on, isn't it?
It may be. I don't know. She disagrees with me on almost everything. So we'll see. But that's not true. We do agree on some things, believe it or not. But anyway, my thought is some executive, somewhere. I don't know if it was Heyman or the director or whoever.
Mm-hmm.
Some person made this call. I can't fathom it was JK.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say it was an executive somewhere at Warner Brothers or a producer on the movie. Liked Emma Watson, the actress or the person,
Right.
better than Rupert Grint. And they wanted to give her the lines, not Rupert.
I could see that.
And I think it's purely a business marketing. Let's put Emma Watson front and center. Let's put Rupert Grint a little bit to the side. Give her the lines. She's whatever. If she was more polished of an actress at that time, she memorized her lines better at the time.
Yeah, because they're
Whatever.
they're children actors, so maybe.
Whatever that case may be, but it just hit me as like, I bet you, without any actual inside knowledge to how Warner Brothers worked on that movie, I want to bet you it's an Emma Watson over Rupert Grint.
And it's one of those tiny things that just drive me nuts about the movie. Because it's like, why? What? Why? It's just, yes, that, but the logic of it. How would Hermione have ever stumbled upon this word?
She reads a lot.
Yeah, but like...
She can come across the word and the meaning in like History of Magic or something. It's
Why
not...
would it be in the History of Magic?
Huh?
Why would it be in the History of Magic?
Purebloods and the genealogies of wizards.
Including like the slurs for them to learn about?
I'm sure you can find it somewhere.
Maybe. I don't know.
That
also makes me wonder how recent of a word it is, you know?
I think that's where you're seeing this. It's not a huge stretch to give Hermione some of these lines, like from a storytelling standpoint.
Well, from the movie standpoint, she reacts more upset because she understands what the word means and trying to explain to Harry, this is what I was just called and it's wrong. It's like an embarrassing type of thing to have to admit.
And I get the uproar about it because you're now having a true Muggle-born telling a half-blood about a pure-blood insult.
Right.
It's like, wait, what? Wait, what?
But I think it's more
why.
powerful coming from Ron because he's also pure-blood and he recognizes that not all purebloods think like that.
That's why...
And it's not like...
That's why...
It's not a thing. They talk about Neville not being able to put his cauldron up right.
Sure,
like,
no, I think that's why. I think Emma Watson was able to deliver that better.
Probably.
And that's why they gave her the line. Quite honestly.
Probably.
It's something as stupid and simple as that.
Yeah.
And then Emma
More
Watson
reasons
becomes...
why it drives me nuts, so.
I get it. But, but it was just a thought I had with Ron, kind of explaining all of this. Again, it's more the book Ron is not as dumb or as aloof as the movies make him.
Right.
But this is kind of why, I guess. At least that's my assumption.
Justice for Ron.
Anyway, so there's kind of a big cliffhanger at the end of this.
Very big cliffhanger. Harry hears the voice that says, come to me, let me rip you, let me tear you, let me kill you.
It's violent.
Did you like my dramatic reading?
I did. I appreciated it. It's an aggressive way to end the chapter.
Which we know, of course, is the voice of the Basilisk. And it does... Like, this is just the first week back of school.
Yeah.
Which I have never really thought about this before, so with this reading, it was kind of new. But having the snake moving around, like, has the snake just been inactive in the Chamber of Secrets this entire time? Or has it been moving through the pipes, but nobody is aware of it because, like, it's not talking? Because it hasn't been, like...
There hasn't been a parcel tongue.
Well, I mean, like, Harry is.
To hear it.
But, like, so it's like it hasn't been talking because it knows no one can hear it. But now that Ginny's there with, of course, Tom Riddle, like, possessing her, like, did she have to go into the chamber to wake it up? And then that was, like, day one kind of a thing? Or day two, because she had to kill all the roosters first. But, like, and has it been going about the castle this entire time? Or has it just been, like, chilling in the chamber and now it's open?
I got the impression that it was kind of...
Not hibernating.
Not
Snakes don't
chained.
hibernate.
No, it just has... Basilisks have an extraordinarily long lifespan.
Right.
And I think it was not locked... I guess it was locked away in the very chamber itself. I don't think it was, like, free roaming the castle.
Okay.
Because if it was free roaming the castle, it would
have
go
like,
after somebody.
Right, that's what I was thinking, but I was just like, I don't know, because, I mean, I mean, Ginny has had to been very busy in this first week back. We know she's killed the roosters because the crow, or the cock of it is it destroys basilisks. So she's been killing them. She hasn't gotten the message on the wall yet. Of course, that's next chapter. But, like, clearly she's gone down into the chamber, right?
Well, we were kind of highlighting just how much Ginny has gotten hooked or sucked into that diary so early.
Yeah.
Like, you
she's
said...
She's had it for like a month?
Yeah,
she's been
because this is
writing
the
in
first
it
week
probably
of school.
every single day.
This is the first week of school, so first week of September, right?
Right.
And then they went to Diagon Alley in, like, halfway through August.
Right.
Because Harry got there the 1st of August,
right.
give or take.
So literally every day she's been writing about Harry, adorable, and talking about his background, which of course Tom Riddle is very, very interested in. But yeah, if she's been writing it this much already, I mean, he's jumped on the chance to like put his plan into motion. It's only been a week of school.
Yeah. Yeah. No, he's obviously extremely persuasive, and it's dark magic, and she's kind of gone for it full on.
Which now a thought comes to my brain. Like, if Tom Riddle is possessing Ginny, and they go down into the chamber to wake up the basilisk, or, like, give it instructions or whatever, I mean, she obviously blacks out and doesn't remember any of this, but why is it that it won't kill her? Like, surely it looks at them, right?
She's being possessed, right?
But wouldn't her body be, like, destroyed if it looks at her while she's being possessed by Tom?
I'd assume she's speaking Parseltongue through... He's speaking Parseltongue through her.
And being like, don't look at me.
Giving it instruction.
Okay.
Of, like, not only, like, do this, go here, your objective is this.
You're free, go kill.
More targeted than that. But essentially, yeah. So he's literally possessing her to instruct this monster to go do things. So that's why
I was thinking about, like, the actual logic of the scene that
Tom Riddle himself would be still susceptible to the, like...
Right.
But he's not, obviously.
Right. I was thinking about the scene that we don't get to see of Ginny going down and talking to the snake and setting it on people.
There's a lot we skip.
Yeah.
That's why I always have said, like, instead of this line by line through the book series that you want so much, let's go in between the lines. Let's dive deeper than that, Why not?
We got to show, not tell.
Yeah, so I don't know. There was a lot to this chapter, but I hope we didn't curse too much while talking about this. And,
we'll go wash our mouths out with soap. It's okay.
Just flowing out there with the Mudblood.
Dan!
I'm sorry. But yeah, so do you have anything else with spoilers or non-spoiler discussions?
I'm just excited to talk about the next chapter.
The next chapter is a good one. So yeah, obviously Elizabeth is coming back for chapter 8.
See you next week.
The Death Day party. Will be prepared for her on this one. It'll be something. So with that, we'll end it here. Let us know if what your thoughts are. Again, we're at Hogwarts a Pod, so let us know. Be kind in the comments.
Yeah, and thanks to all our new Twitter followers. We
had a big boost.
Happy to have you, and we hope that we continue to get some more. But please let us know your thoughts on everything.
We've had some more on the Instagram as well. So things are growing.
Yay,
it's a good thing.
People.
We're doing okay. So yeah, but for that, I'm Dan. You can check me out at Daniel_Allen44 on my personal Twitter. So check me out. Thank you for listening to Hogwarts, a podcast. If you like what you've heard, please click the subscribe button on your preferred podcasting app and follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Hogwarts a Pod.